And we're back at it with another episode for you guys. I mean, I think that we've been really covering such important topics, but like even topics that some people just won't talk about.
Right.
And I think it's also important that we touch on those topics that people don't want to talk about, like spirituality and religion and, things like that. And, today's episode is about like trauma bonding. And I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've personally seen it. It's really profounding that like when people share a loss, like they're grieving together, but then like it just starts to like enmesh in.
Yeah, like we wrote about how intense emotional pain can mimic romantic or codependent connection.
And I think that that's where a lot of the trauma bonding does come in. And again, right, like I talk about this in sessions, not so much like with my clients, I'll be honest. I don't have anyone in that situation. But, it comes up like trauma bonding, like, when you just become so codependent and especially when you share the similar loss. And I think that it was important that I really wanted to talk about it in this episode so people are aware and they recognize like, hold up, let me take a step back. Is this trauma bonding? Are we being very codependent with one another? There were some things like why the brain always like craves closeness
right.
throughout chaos. And I feel like some people, especially if they live their life through chaos and then like lost someone traumatically, it just brings that on even more.
How to discern genuine connection from a grief-fueled dependency.
I think that
that's a mouthful.
You know what I mean? And then like the bond becomes like a coping mechanism, and then like people don't know how to recognize that. Like, hey, this is probably not healthy and this is probably not right. This is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But because I don't want to feel this pain anymore, I don't want to feel this numbness, like I have to have this fulfillment of that person.
And you want to like honor the person you're with.
Right.
Without getting lost in somebody else.
Yeah. And I think also like the body also floods in with stress hormones. And I think I mentioned that in the talking points that like the stress hormone, like you're just on such a, it's like cortisol and adrenaline, like you're just running on a high and you're just trying to bring some calmness back to that nervous system. And the only way to do that is to bond it. And I think that one of the relationships that I saw was Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman. Listen, I love me some Dennis. And listen, when I saw Michael Jordan's his thing on ESPN, I was like, oh my God, I need to see Rodman's 10 for 10. Like he is, I just want to see what hair color are you going to put next. So like, for example, she did in an interview, Carmen Electra, she said that she revealed that her impulsive marriage to Dennis Rodman in 1998 was influenced by the emotional numbness she felt after losing her mother, both her mother and her sister.
Wow.
She described it as the marriage as an attempt to cling onto something amidst her grief, illustrating how loss can impact decision-making in relationships. And I thought that was just so, first of all, that was brave of her to even admit that, and the awareness of her to even admit that, because not a lot of people can even admit that, period, like about their grief. But imagine losing like the two closest people to you, your mom and your sister. Now you're just trying to cling on to something to love.
Right.
Because there's
and
nothing
also
to
you're
love.
like searching for some sort of happiness, right? You're like, all I've had is grief and burying people and all this kind of stuff. And then for her to be able to like have a wedding and be married to him. And I feel like in the celebrity, everybody was like, yeah, good for you guys. Like it's like they had a bunch of support.
Right.
So
but not realizing that was like the underlying thing of that, you know. And I think it was important to kind of showcase that part of it. Like, again, in other cultures, people do like marry like their best friends. They marry, cousins. They marry brothers or sisters. Like, okay, because they're grieving so hard, they miss that person. But it's like, well, how can you grieve a loss without, I guess, overstepping that boundary?
Right.
Is that what it is? Or
Right,
maybe,
because
or
it
that
can feel
integrity?
impulsive. It can
Yeah.
feel impulsive.
Yeah.
The other example that we had was Haley Biden and Hunter Biden.
This was bizarre.
I didn't even know about this until we researched it, right? Yeah. So following the death of her husband, Beau Biden, from brain cancer in 2015, Haley Biden entered into a relationship with Beau's brother, Hunter Biden. Their relationship garnered public attention and sparked discussions about grief, familial bonds, and the complexities of love after loss. And I feel when it comes to them, they both were like, you're the only person who understands my grief.
Right. Right.
Because it's also a grief of like peers, people being the same age. Yep. So it's like you're also developmentally and maybe like mature on your life, right? Like if you're 20, you're going to grieve not the way you are when you're 60 or when you're 10, you know what I mean? So it's like them both being similar ages and.
But the brother. Right? Like, so now then I have all these other questions like, okay, well, you're going to marry his brother. So now the brother is still always going to live in the shadow of the dead brother. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, don't you have any integrity, or don't you have any morale in yourself, or self-worth in yourself to be like, okay, you know what? This is not right, you know?
I think when you're grieving, you feel close to people who are as hurt as you are.
Yes, I can see that.
So it's like I can see how, like, anybody who grieves my sister, anybody who cries for my sister, I feel close to. Because I'm like, oh, you get it.
Right.
You get it. You know how amazing she was, right? Yes. So it's like, I wonder if with them, they were both so distraught that they felt like closer to each other.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would necessarily need to translate into a relationship.
Correct. And I think that's also...
That could be just this beautiful bond that they'll have forever.
Right. Like, right, to share that love and the loss of the person who they have in common, better than to go into a whole relationship and a marriage.
Because you're going to put a whole bunch of other stress.
Well, right. And then you're splitting up the family.
You're two grieving people, thinking that you're not going to have any issues in your marriage.
And I also feel like while you're sitting there, like, again, right, it's the brother. So now, did the family accept this? Like, are they accepting of this situation? Did you just split the family? Like, what did you do in such a case like this?
There's going to be some people that are like, I don't think he would have wanted this.
Right.
Which nobody knows. He's not here. But...
Right. But then would you have done that while he was here? Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, was there something there prior to that? So.
Right.
Ma'am.
Good point.
Ma'am. Just saying, you know. We watch
Thanksgiving,
shows.
There was a little...
Right, little footsies underneath the table.
It was so bad. We turn anything into
like everything. We're just like,
we turn
ridiculous.
Anything. We're just like, y'all ain't shit.
Yeah. No, for real, seriously.
I see y'all at Christmas.
Right, winking. Then y'all got that extra wine.
Like, listen, calm down.
But one of the things that I felt was really true is that, like, true connection does bring comfort and encourage growth. Trauma bonds often stagnates, keeping both people locked in the pain, afraid to move forward for fear and betraying the past. And I thought that line, like, it just like stuck out to me because I'm like, oh, a different perspective, right? Because, you know, obviously, we're saying it jokingly, but also in a judgmental way. We don't judge. We just, you know, we sit back.
What is it? We share and we don't judge.
We don't judge.
We do.
We do. But, like, you know, we're not trying to judge them, and their whatever decisions that they make, they're adults. They're going to make whatever decisions they want to make. But in the same token, I'm just like, well, this was a different perspective that I'm like, okay, is it rooted in love or is it rooted in trauma? Like, what is it? And that line stuck out to me. That was like, I don't know. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, again, right? It keeps them stagnant. So are they still living in the past? And it's something really, really hard, like, to really think about, like, this is how do people really process this?
Right.
Like, you know, obviously therapy, you know, going for counseling. Grief counseling is also great for people, especially if it was like a traumatic incident. We were talking about EMDR.
Right.
We were talking about different types of trauma-informed counseling that can be able to help you not so much get over, but just move to the next level.
Right. Because sometimes your grief is also compounded with PTSD.
Right.
Right? Like there's always going to be, like in my own therapy, she's like, you got a little PTSD there from accidents, cars, trucks. Like, like I wasn't realizing. She's like, you won't get out of the slow lane when you're driving. You see a truck, you freak out. There's a little bit more there on top of the grief. So perfect point that you made. It's like you need to have certain therapies or things like that are really boiled down to what's really bothering you, right? Because that could be codependent, right?
Correct.
I could say, I don't feel comfortable driving anymore, so you have to drive me. And I did do it a little bit, It's like, I'm not, or I feel safer in an Uber where I'm in the back seat in the middle with my seatbelt on. And I'm like, watch out,
And especially driving in Jersey, like.
I got a ride home from my PM once, and she was like, it's okay. Because, like, when you look to see if someone's coming, I'm like, and she's like, you gotta just like chill. And I'm like, so to your point, but like what you said, like, what does it look like, right? This codependent connection, right? It could look like you're forming this like romantic or over dependent relationship with a fellow mourner. The emotional intensity of grief can often feel very similar to romantic intensity.
Right.
Both activate the brain's reward and attachment system. Systems. Yeah.
So imagine that. So, like it's both similar, and you're already still in fight or flight. You're still in survival mode, right? So there's just so many layers, I feel like, to this.
I find this so interesting. In our research, we come across this stuff, and I never thought how grief can also feel like romance.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't even think to put two things in the same breath. But then we've always, as we've learned, grief is love with nowhere to go. So it's like, I've never made the correlation of like romance, grief. Like, they're both activating that reward, attachment.
Yes.
It's like the same feelings.
Right. It's like, almost like that dopamine hits.
Right.
Like those
which is good for us to know and for us to share, is that sometimes in your grief, you could feel like you're in love. You could be in love with the wrong person.
Right. But sometimes what happens is too, what I was going to bring up as well, like you're saying, like it can bring on like PTSD, like you were driving and stuff like that. But then I feel like even in both of our griefs, it brought up other past situations growing up, like any trauma growing up or any situations that we had to, be resilient in. That also comes up in your healing process of grief. And I feel that sometimes like all that comes up and then it could be intertwined, like, okay, well maybe that then this is what I deserve, like that love,
right?
This is the love, like this hurt,
right?
This is what this is what I deserve,
right?
And it's like, no, it's really not,
right?
It's okay. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, it's so intense. It's so, the bond becoming a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's not really a stable foundation for long-term love.
No. And I think also, we brought up those two, obviously they're celebrities or, they're people that we know. But, there's people day in and day out, there's, a person that their husband died and they end up with the best friend because they're just in so much pain. That, again, I think you nailed it. Like, it's just grief with love with nowhere to go.
Right.
And and I'm so grateful that they are finding love, but that's also traumatic.
Right.
And they also said, like, in our research, it also said, like, it's not always long lasting.
And then you have to mourn that.
Right. So now it's like, again,
you're putting yourself through it again, Oh, God, I love this part why the brain craves closeness and the chaos of loss.
Yep.
So the brain is wired to seek safety and connection in the face of danger or loss. When you experience a death, especially sudden or traumatic, the limbic system, which is the emotional brain part, interprets it as a threat to your survival. Hell yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die in a car crash. You know what I mean? Like, So it says the body floods with stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, and in response, it desperately seeks comfort, often through attachment.
Yes.
So if someone else is grieving that same loss, the brain sees them as a safe person who understands pain without explanation. Didn't even think about that.
Right.
You are falling in love with somebody because you don't, what's understood does not have to be explained.
Exactly. Ooh, girl, was that a gem?
We are peeling layers here. Somebody's watching this with somebody.
Listen,
their baby daddy's friend, like,
or a cousin,
like.
My bad. Sorry.
Pew, 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 pew.
There goes Marv. We were waiting
for it.
But
this literally, this.
That was a funk master flex.
Okay,
bomb.
Ready? And now I'm gonna blow your mind, right? Because it says this creates a dopamine feedback loop. Emotional pain, connection, temporary relief, reinforced bond, keeps going.
Yep.
Emotional pain, connection, temporary relief, reinforced bond. The bond is a coping mechanism.
And the attachment, right? So then you have that's not healthy attachment. That's unhealthy attachment to people. And again, right? Like I don't like to turn on the therapeutic words and, you know, therapize. I'm trying to say it.
Right.
I can't even say it.
We get what you're saying.
Yeah, you know.
Just put on a work hat on.
Yeah. I like, you know, I try to turn it off so I can just be as human as possible with relaying this information with, understandable language, right? And not that we're in a session. You know, but I do think that having a healthy attachment, but this is not healthy.
No, because you're avoiding your own grief by tending to theirs.
Yep. Ooh.
You know, so that's what it's saying here. Like, it's creating a delay.
Yeah.
And you're just creating emotional dependence, right? They're saying the fine line between support and emotional enmeshment, right? So it's like you may feel overly responsible for the other person's emotions. The relationship might become all-consuming, leaving very little space for individual processing.
Yeah, or even individualistic.
Decisions are being made out of guilt, fear of abandonment, or the need to keep the other person okay, which is so true. I'm grieving my husband, and you're grieving your brother, right? In the Biden example, right? And it's like, you do something that I don't really like or I feel disrespected by.
Right.
But I'm like, you're grieving your brother.
Yes.
So you're not going to have, in connections where it's rooted in grief, you're not going to have boundaries.
No. And there isn't any boundaries, right? And then the morale is gone. Integrity is gone, right? Because now, like, you both... You know, I'm sure that they were devastated that one lost the husband, one lost the brother.
Right.
You know, like even with Carmen Electra, she lost her mother. Devastated, right? You're putting on this big, and I'm not saying, it's like a show, right? But you're showing your grief. Like, you are just showing everyone what that person meant to you because you're so heartbroken. And then, like, you turn around and now you're with his brother. Like, what are you doing? The Bidens. Got.
Here we go.
We're not going to make it political. We're not doing that. No. It's a no, dog.
So actually, we've been a little judgy.
Yeah, we are.
And we've also been learning, right?
Yes.
In our thing. But here's some tools, okay?
Yeah.
So how to discern genuine connection from a grief-fueled dependency. Okay? So to kind of determine where, if your connection is rooted in love or shared trauma, ask yourself these questions.
Right.
Can we talk about other things than the loss?
Right.
Do I still feel like a whole person when I'm not with them? Am I choosing this relationship out of peace or out of fear and pain? And would this connection still feel safe and fulfilling if the grief faded?
Well, or does the grief never fade and then they're still living in that prolonged grief, right? So that's something that I don't think we've gone into that, the prolonged grief. Like people who've grieved pretty much the rest of their life. You know, there's people that have such prolonged, like they won't even move on to the next person or, you know, they can't get themselves out of bed. Like they're in this severe depression that there's just nothing for them to live. Like they're just like, well, you know what? I could die tomorrow. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like I have nothing to live for anymore. Right. But like we see such strength from our mothers that lost their youngest children, you know, and it's like they're still living, you know. Now, are they living fully? No, like your mom is still like in the thick of it.
She's still really in it.
Like in the thick of it. But I also feel like even with my mom, like she'll text me randomly, like, I miss your brother. And she'll send me pictures. And I'm like, I'm out running errands with Nelsie.
Right.
Like, why are you I can't do this right now. I need to talk to you later about this. Oh, look, I fixed the shrine for Sean. Like, look, I did this and I did that. And I'm like, okay, it's beautiful. But, you know, I'm in the middle with a client right now. Like, I can't have this conversation. Like, you're
triggered and you're like.
Right, now I'm triggered. And it's like, well, what the hell can I do about this? Like, I can't do anything about this. This is not, like, Ma, like, what do you want me to do? You know? But I do remember just being, I know when it first happened to me, and I can say this, that I was kind of codependent just on some friends. And I can definitely see that. I mean, I don't think it was never ever in a romantic way with other people.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand, like, again, the trauma bonding, and I could see that, but I can see that being with even friends.
I can see it too, because I feel like the romance was like, I didn't care about any of that. It was all about like my friends, oh my God, my circle, my Bible study group, my women, you know, like all the women that were around.
Right. And I feel like some of that even, you know, with, you know, even a lot of people that I lost. And what I mean by lost, like, you know, I've said this before in previous episodes that, you know, when the lights turn on, the roaches go running, you know, and the lights went on. And, you know, I was just so numb and just in such a place, like a fog. And I was just like, whatever, like, you know, I didn't even care at that point. But, you know, like people would text me and check in. Oh, yeah, I'm good. But I really wasn't good. So that was like that performative.
Right.
I was also being like just performing.
Right.
Like
you're
I'm
masking. So they think you're okay.
But then I was like reaching out like, hey, let's go for drinks. Hey, let's go out. And then like just acting up, like always going out and drinking. And I'm like, this is not healthy at all. So until I went to therapy twice, you know, but the second time around, I was like really addressing some real root issues. And that's what I said, like sometimes addressing those root issues as well will counteract against that trauma bond, I feel like. And at least for me in my own experience, because, you know, not only am I solving some things, whether it's the father wound, the mother wound, whatever the case is, I was able to address those and not in a healthy manner and start to begin to have healthy attachments with friends and have those conversations with friends that it's not or at least I didn't feel like it was overbearing. Or I would ask like, hey, are you ready for this? Because this is some heavy stuff. Like, you ready to have this conversation? And, you know, I prepare people. I ask them because I said, you know what? Maybe I might be dumping on them and I don't want to. And that's what one of the mistakes that I realized in one of the friendships that I had that ended. I was like, yeah, you know, I dumped a lot on her. And do I feel sorry? Absolutely. I feel sorry. But that's when you also communicate like, hey, girl, I can't, you know, but when you have lack of communication, you know, I don't know that. I'm not psychic, you know, I'm not Sylvia Brown.
And grief is a learning process.
Yes.
I mean, we don't know the healthy way to deal with it. We don't know the healthy way to deal with it until we're learning. I mean, how much have we learned just doing this podcast in the past couple of months? Like, I'm like, oof, I'm guilty of that. Oof, I've done that.
Even though some of the sayings, I feel like some of the sayings, we were just like, oh, I think I probably said that. But I probably said that like much more in like my 20s versus my 30s and versus like even now. Like now I know better, like moving forward.
Yeah.
But I think even going through all those steps of what's a healthy way to figure out if it's a trauma bond or not, I think that was excellent.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
And so just to wrap up, like how to honor the loss without losing yourself in someone else. So like healing doesn't mean like cutting off connections. Right. You know, it means consciously choosing them. And here's like a little couple steps. There's 5 little notes, right? On how you can begin to step out of a trauma bond and into a more grounded connection. That's another thing. Right. You may have trauma bonded. That's okay. That's going to happen. It happens. And then you're going to kind of get your way out of that. Right. You know? Right. So you want to definitely create a space for individual grief. Right. Because this trauma bonding is things you do together. So journaling, therapy, solitude. We talked about that, all meditation, those things so many times, right?
Yes.
And then you want to set emotional boundaries. You want to make sure that you're allowing yourself to feel your pain,
right,
but not carrying someone else's.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah. And then you definitely want to avoid impulsive decisions, major ones like moving.
But you're not trauma bonded.
Or starting a new relationship right away. Didn't do that.
Yeah.
Talk openly about your fears and needs without expecting the other person to rescue you.
Ooh, repeat that one again.
Yeah. So
that was a good one.
Talk openly about your fears and needs without expecting the other person to rescue you. And that's intense, right? Because it's like, I'm trying to share.
Yeah.
But you want to make the other person, like, I don't want you to fix me. I'm just sharing what's going on. And sometimes people will feel like they have to fix.
Yes.
And you're like, I just wanted to vent. Sometimes like when people will start to offer like unsolicited advice. And I'm like, I just wanted to vent. I just wanted to share that.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's like, nah.
But that was a good one.
And then a really good one. Anchor your identity. Oof. Explore who you are now outside of the grief.
Right.
And outside of the bond that you have with somebody.
Right.
Who am I? What am I doing? What makes me happy?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Because it could make me really happy to, spend time with a particular person because it's fun.
Right.
But okay, if that person's not available for a week or I'm not available for a week.
What do you do?
What's the identity? What am I doing to have fun? What am I,
Right. Exactly. But I thought that these are some great. I mean, that second to last one, I was just like, you have some gems in these ones.
So it says sharing grief can build a beautiful bridge between two hearts, but it can also become a cage.
Ooh, my goodness, gems.
It could also become a cage if we confuse survival attachment with true emotional intimacy. The goal is not to push love away, but to love consciously, not as a Band-Aid for grief, but as a choice rooted in clarity and healing. Oh, what a good way to end.
I mean, talk about a great ending on that one.
We wish you clarity. We wish you healing. We wish you to love consciously. You can love while you're in grief.
Yes, you can.
Just make sure that it is a safe and healthy way and you are not trauma bonding.
Not like the Bidens.
What a good episode.
I love this
one. Okay, little note.
Yeah.
We had 2 things planned and then we didn't have a third that we were going to record.
And this was
And just like, why don't we push up trauma bonding? And I was like, And then I'm like reading and I'm like, you know what? This is like right on time. It's perfect. I hope that it really reaches the right people.
Well,
and for it to do that, you have to share us, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just help me, YouTube.
Instagram,
TikTok. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us.